Welcome back to Rurouni Kenshin Anime Review. This is part 7A. The reason why I'm splitting this two up because, well, I kind of just wanted to get the review of the first two out of the way first. The first two of the Rurouni Kenshin live action films. And these two films are the Rurouni Kenshin Origins and Rurouni Kenshin Kyoto Inferno. The first film is just a very loose adaptation of the first 8 volumes of the series. I say loose because it kind of looks like they put in like one arc with a little bit of beginning and mixing some stuff here and there. Now, the guy who plays Kenshin in the film is actually one of the Kamen Riders. I'm not kidding, it's one of the actors from Kamen Rider. It is. Let's see, the actor's name is Takeo Sato. Yeah, that's how you pronounce the guy's name. He was in Kamen Rider Den-O. Yep. Yeah, it was the 17th installment of Kamen Rider. Now, I did a little research when it comes to this particular actor and, of course, how he's portrayed and what does the writer Rurouni Kenshin think of him. He actually loves this. He actually really enjoys this guy. He thought he was definitely the ideal choice, and the fact also that the writer Rurouni Kenshin, Naoharu Watsuki, actually had some input in the original film. He actually expressed some ideas for it, and they actually followed through with it, which you don't hear that very much because half the time whenever a student makes a movie and the original creator, like let's say of a novel or a comic, wants to put some ideas in there, half the time they just ignore them. This time I think that the reason why they decided to do it because they want to pay humongous respect to the original source material. Now, in the case of the costumes, I got to comment on these costumes. The costumes are manga and anime accurate. Yeah, though in the case of Kenshin's Komodo, it's a bit of a lighter color than it is depicted in the anime, but it is the right color, red. Though in the anime, I think it's more like a beige. This one's like a very dark red. And the other way I know this was Kenshin was because of the cross scar in his face. Now, the film does also show a flashback of how he got the first scar, but not the second one. I'm like, that's a little odd. Okay, so you show a flashback from the Remembrance arc, and yet you only show like part of it. Like, that's a little odd. Now, how Kenshin meets Caillou is a little bit different than how he's, because usually she just randomly runs into him. Here, he just runs into some wall, and when she sees the reverse play, like, oh, he doesn't kill, he's not the Patosai killer that's going around. Yeah, and it turns out this particular person is not the same person as in the manga. In the manga, it's a former student from Caillou's dojo who was a student of her father's. This one, believe it or not, the serial killer who has been killing people in the film is actually the serial killer from the manga. Which, I'm like, that's a little odd to kind of merge two storylines into one. Yeah, it's like they took elements from two different storylines for him. Jinu Udo. Yeah, he is portrayed very accurately from the manga. I mean, he kills people pretty much the same way. He's not as crazy as he is in the manga and the anime, but his depiction is done really well. That's why I think I'm watching this film dubbed. It's done really well, and he dies pretty much the same way as he does in the manga and the anime, where he kills himself by stabbing himself in the heart with his sword. And plus, also, he kidnaps Caillou and does pretty much anything to her. And his power Kenshin is pretty much the same, though in this film it's handled toward the end. Now, the main villain of the film is not him, actually. Believe it or not, it is Kaniro Tasida, yeah, who is a businessman, a very sleazy businessman. He's pretty accurate to how he's back the manga. Yeah, in this time, get this, he's actually shown a lot more than he was depicted in the manga. I mean, a lot of time when you saw him, he just had his mansion. Here you see him out and about, seeing Kenshin before he gets to his mansion, which I'm like, that's interesting. And the fact that Sato basically sort of kind of eggs him on to hire him to kill Kenshin, even though he doesn't really do it. He still uses the big sword he uses in the manga, but unlike in the manga and the anime, where Kenshin destroys the thing, this time it gets damaged, but it doesn't. It's not destroyed because it's used in the second film. Which I'm like, that's a little odd. Now, when Saito's introduced, when Saito's introduced in the film, it's a bit different how he's usually introduced in the manga. In this film, he's introduced in jail of all things, and then he's released on parole for some reason. Now, most of the characters who were associated with this particular era of the manga and the anime were all pretty much there, except for pretty much like three people, and that was Saito and two members of the Six Swords. Yeah, for some reason they threw these guys in. I am not kidding about this. They threw in Gin and Bunjin Inui. Yeah, two of the Six Swords from the final arc of the manga. I'm like, why are these guys here? But in the case of the first guy, he kind of fills in the role of one of the Amiwama group, which, by the way, they're not in the film at all. Which, this was an odd change, like, because they're heavily part of this arc in the manga and in the anime, and yet here they're nowhere to be seen at all. And I'll get to Aoshi in a minute, basically, how he's picked in the next film. Saito, in the meanwhile, is depicted very accurately. The actor does a fantastic job of portraying him really well. Though his hair is a little odd, but it's a minor complaint. I mean, in the manga, his hair is like a little long, partially covering up his face, like three long hairs. Here they have one hair, but it's a slight irritation. But at least his uniform is correct. Excuse me. Though he has no encounters with Aoshi in next one, which I'll get to in a minute. Now, unlike in the manga, in the anime, where the sleazy businessman gets away and doesn't get arrested for the things he did, here he's actually arrested. Yep, he and all of his men are arrested and they're thrown in jail. Which I'm like, okay, I actually don't mind that change. Yeah, that was actually pretty neat. And plus, I love the fact they threw in the scene from the manga and the anime of him using the Gatling gun. I thought that was nice, though. Didn't use an Amawama group, he just used a Kenshin, Saito, and Sato. Yeah, three people. And Caillou and Yanko were nowhere in this particular part of the thing. Yeah, I'm like, okay, that part I don't know why they changed it for, but it's okay. It's not really it's another minor complaint. I would say overall, the only changes I did not like for this particular film was the absence of the Aniwama group. Yeah, them not being in this film is a bit odd because it's been head scratching from the anime and the manga how this particular part of the manga story is depicted. At least Megumi is depicted pretty accurately. Yeah, and they actually show her sort of her let's say her partner when it comes to making the opium. Yeah, they actually show him this time because in the manga and anime they just reference him. I think he's seen briefly in a flashback, and here he's seen briefly before he's killed. And of course, Megumi is actually seen running away, and it actually happens during the course of the film. Unlike in the manga, when it happens off screen, this happens, which I gotta praise the movie for actually doing that. Which that I actually really do enjoy the fact they threw that little moment in, and the fact it's Yanako one of mine was like, okay, that's a little odd because she just randomly runs into the restaurant. In the movie, Yanako just finds her randomly on the street and brings her back to the dojo so she can stay. And it's not revealed a little bit later. Like she's, oh yeah, I'm a doctor and help with this rash of rat poisoning. In the anime manga, they're not told she's a doctor until their local doctors tells them that she's actually a doctor. Here, that old man doctor is only seen for one scene the whole film. Which I'm like, this guy plays sort of a kind of, even though plays kind of not a big role in the manga, but he does play a role. Here, he just seen for a quick cameo and like that's it. Which I'm like, okay, you threw the guy in. I'm glad you did that, but why the small role for it? Just makes no sense. But it's still a great film, great respect for the source material, and you might ask the question: is this better than Dragon Evolution? Yes, it is. It's a lot better because they actually accurately depict a lot of the stuff from the manga and the anime pretty well. The characters, the setting, some of the story elements, even though it's still a little bit out of order here and there, but it is great. The first Rurouni Kenshin film is fantastic. The second film, Inferno Burning. There were some problems I have with this film. First of which, Aoshi. Yeah, he just comes completely out of nowhere. Now, I love the fact they actually got his costume correct. Yeah, I love his costume. I love that coat he wears. And I love the fact they actually kept the fact he's trying to defeat Kenshin thing, which in the film comes very random. Like if you never read the manga or anime, Aoshi just comes completely out of nowhere, and he's like looking for Kenshin for some reason. He attacks Sato. Oh, in case you're wondering, does he have any encounter with Saito in this entire film, like he does in the anime manga? Nope. He does not. He doesn't encounter him at all. As a matter of fact, Aoshi doesn't appear that much in the film, which is a little odd because he does play a big role in the actual arc itself. hmm Now, there's one character who does have a change to their outfit from they were from the manga and anime, and that's Yogumi, Shishio's lover. Yeah, she is depicting wearing a completely different attire. Yeah, I'm like, okay, so you have everybody else. I mean, Yanako is wearing a slightly different outfit, but at least it's the right style. In the case of Yuriko, it's a completely different attire because in the manga and anime, her outfit shows off her like top half of her body, which makes it very sexy. Here, it's like they show off like part of her, and the outfit is completely different. Yeah, I don't mind this that much, but I wouldn't mind. I would have loved it if they actually kept the actual outfit from the manga and the anime, but okay. Shishio in the dub for some reason, yeah, they actually, believe it or not, the person that's the dub is the same person that's in the new Kaito arc, two-part film David Wade, which it's a bit rushed in here, but I watched on YouTube because this is one place I can actually find the film dubbed. But I praise the fact he actually looks like him, and the costume department did a fantastic job recreating how accurately this guy looks. Mm-hmm. Yep. Let's see. What else? Oh yeah, their whole mentioning of the 10 swords. Yeah, here's the thing. Only one shows up the entire film. Yeah, and that's the guy with the sword collector guy who shows up in the film and pretty much does the same thing does both in the manga and the anime. Yeah, him trying to get the second sword Kenshin has. Him the by Kenshin ends up in jail. Though his cell was completely different than it is in the manga and the anime. And Sato was not there interrogating him, and I call him Chickenhead. Which I'm like, that's a little odd. Yeah, Sato doesn't do a lot of big things in this particular film like he does in the manga and the anime. It's like they just changed that stuff in here for absolutely no reason. Uh huh. Yep. Let's see what else. Um. Yeah, for some reason, and I looked it up, at least about 2 or 3 of the actual 10 swords are actually in the live action, and they're in the next film, which I haven't a chance to watch yet. But for this film, only one. Well, they do throw in the corrupt businessman guy, the crooked government official. They throw him in, which I'm glad they threw him in because he was for no explained reason he was absent from the new Kaiser arc 2-part film. Yeah, I don't know why he was absent for, but here he is here, which I do praise the filmmakers for putting the guy in. But oh, I do have one other slight complaint. There's like 2 characters who appear in the manga and the anime who do not appear in the first film. One is the police chief. Yeah, surprisingly, he does not appear in the film. The other is a government official who's no friend of Kenshin's. Yeah, the government official they have in the film is not the one from the manga. It's a slightly different one, but I kind of wish they threw the guy in, which would have been really nice. But in the case of this film, it's like they're missing like 9 out of 10 swords. Let's see. Uh, the rest of the Amawama group, there's no mention of them at all. Well, they do appear in the film, and they changed him to Amawa Guard, which I'm like, that's odd. Though I do appreciate the fact that they threw in the fight between Aoshi and the old man, though they have it during the Battle of Kyoto, even though in the manga and the anime it happened before that, which was a little odd. They had the Purgatory in the film, which I do praise the fact they have in the film. And it's interesting, though, that they actually do show an amazing fight scene of having the four elites fighting Shishio's men on the streets of Kyoto, which that was amazing. But yeah, it's overall a really good film. Just that the changes for this particular one make less sense for this one than it did in the first one. Oh, and also they do throw in the character from the actual manga itself, who is a character also from real life, and that was secondary tier. Yeah, he's in here, though they changed the location of his scene for some reason. Yeah, I don't know why, but they do that. Let's see if I can find him here. But yeah, that's the weird thing. He gets killed pretty much the same way. He gets killed by the little boy. What's the guy's name? He's killed by Shirijiro. Yeah, he's pretty much killed the same exact way, which I do appreciate the film for keeping this accurate depiction from the manga and the anime of how he's killed. Basically, he's killed pretty much the same way, which in a carriage, getting stabbed. I think he got stabbed in the neck. The later on he got killed by his actual assassins, which I gotta praise the film for actually doing that. Though they do change the location of Kenshin's meeting with him. In the manga and anime, they have their meeting inside the dojo. In the film, they have it in his office, which, okay, that's slight change, but it's a minor irritation. But at least the dialogue from the scene is pretty much intact. Yeah, from what I can tell, it's an accurate depiction of the dialogue from that particular scene, which got praised for that. And the mustache colonel guy who was actually with him is actually in the actual film. Though he doesn't do very much. Yeah, he shows up for one. I think he shows up for like 2 scenes. He does show up in the later scene, which happens like right after the Secretary of the Interior's death. Yeah, that whole scene, it's pretty accurate to how I expected the anime and manga, which you gotta appreciate the fact that certain scenes like that play out pretty much like how I depicted in the anime and manga. Though I think the Secretary of Interior, I think they had him in the film for way too quickly. It's like, oh, he shows up for one scene, and then next time he's seen, oh yeah, it's his death. Yep, it's his death. Though for this particular film, unlike the anime, they actually show his dead body this time. In the actual show, they don't show his dead body, like right after he's killed. Yeah, my guess is in live action they're allowed to get away with this, and my guess is in anime, for the style of anime they were doing at that point, they probably could not get away with this. But in live action film, they can probably get away with this. But yeah, and also for some reason I have no idea why they decided to do this for. They had Shishio kidnap Kaio, a character who never had any interaction with her at all in the manga or anime. And yeah, for this film, he's seen, well, actually his right-hand man, the like 12-year-old boy, kidnaps her, takes her to his ship, and Shishio and Kenshin had a brief fight, and then Kenshin hops off board searching for Kaio, and he doesn't find her. He finds him on a beach of all places. And I'm trying to think of, is she found? I don't know. It's a little. I have to watch the next one to see how that part fills up, but it's a pretty good film. Masao, from what I can tell, is depicted pretty much the same as he is in both the manga and the anime. Their outfit's different. I'm like, that's odd. They changed her outfit, which is a little bizarre. Which I didn't notice that even was Masao until I said, oh yeah, that's Masao. Yeah. Also, she has barely, and she interacts a little bit with Kaio in the film, even though the actual manga and the anime, they actually do have they interact a little bit more. hmm I do like that Kenshin interacts with the old man in the film, which gotta appreciate the fact they kept that in. Yeah, but otherwise, though, that's really it. It's a pretty good film. Not as good as the first one, but yeah, and they released this film the same year as the third one, which is a little odd. They basically split the Caillou arc, like they did for the anime adaptation, into two films, which I'm kind of like, that's odd. Yeah, that's very odd indeed. But yeah, so that's it for this particular video. Stay tuned for tomorrow for the final video for this series. Well, for now, anyways. And it will be on the third and final film. And I will talk about what the studio did with the actress who played Kaio. Yeah, I will give my opinion on that and how stupid it is. Alright? But do see you in the next video. Bye.